now turn up.
All right, what up? It is nap time now at the Casper household. So my wife and I gave birth to a boy, Jackson Robert Casper. Picture right there. It's awesome welcome addition to the family. So he was born at the end of March here. So again, it is nap time. So I'm gonna be a little bit quieter around this time, but I do want to produce a video out there and keep trying to do daily videos. It just might be during nap time, so I might not be screaming and yelling and doing all crazy stuff. But again, we're going to be going through, well, first of all, I'm going to be giving away a free Jerry Jeudy signed jersey. Look at that, not upside down yet. All you have to do is be a subscriber. First one, or not first one, 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving that out here. We're already over halfway there, so we're already over 500, which has been awesome. Thank you all. So the biggest question is, do you want an elite running back or that elite, I guess, wide receiver? And so the question we're saying is, do you want the running back 3 or do you want the wide receiver 1 in this upcoming class? And that's been the biggest question, is do you want Javonte Williams or Travis Etienne? Those have been kind of the RB3 talks. Javonte Williams is my RB3. Or do you want Jamar Chase, who just ran the 4.3840, or do you want Devontae Smith, who, yes, weighed in at 175 pounds? These are the big debates that we have to try to figure out, and this is the question number 1. There's going to be a couple other kind of stopgap points where people are going to be having some big questions, but number 1 is going to be the running back versus wide receiver. Let's just say in that situation where you have pick 3, pick 4, a lot of times you're going to need a running back. The reason that you have pick 3 and pick 4 is usually because your team is not great, and wide receivers are easier to get than running backs. Just the demand of running backs is more. There's less out there. So my biggest key for anybody is, if you are planning on not drafting a running back in this class, I would say, then trade back. But if you can't trade back in this situation, I would say always take the running back. I think Javonte Williams, I think Travis Etienne, and I think Najee Harris have this elite tier, and they have very good safety among the running backs. So when we even look at 2020, there was a good safe gap of like 4 running backs, maybe even 5 in some people's eyes, versus some of the wide receivers. And I know how great Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Reagor and Henry Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, how great they looked, but only one of them is right now drafted above the running backs, and that is Justin Jefferson. So your chances are you're going to be drafting a wide receiver that at the end of year 1 production is going to be less valuable than the running backs. And so let's look at just, okay, I don't want to draft a running back. Let's just say I draft Javonte Williams though to trade him. You can trade him then for a wide receiver. And if you still have a team that's in rebuild, you can draft him, or you can trade him for a wide receiver and then draft another running back or draft another top wide receiver. So we're still going to have some good wide receivers. But specifically for the 2021 class, the reasons to draft a running back over a wide receiver is the big tier of 3 running backs. Then a lot of people say like Kenneth Gainwell by himself. I have him pretty closer to the big 3 than a lot. But then it's a huge drop-off. So one of my biggest things I will say is you want to draft a running back versus those wide receivers, because and just like that, in the middle of my video, of course, my wife calling me about some baby stuff. So anyways, I think it's going to be super important I don't know where exactly I left off, but we know that drafting running backs are going to be, again, important for that immediate value. So then you can draft again, or you can trade them again for a wide receiver, and then again draft again a wide receiver down the road. Again, this class, especially if you have multiple picks, these wide receivers are so deep. We're talking about tier 1 is 5 players. So if you have multiple firsts, think that this is a huge key to draft a running back. This is a huge key to draft a running back, because if you have like 109 and 112, then you can draft a Jalen Waddle, a Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's in tier 2. You can draft a Terrace Marshall. You can draft these really good maybe a tier 1 wide receiver and a couple tier 2 wide receivers if you have around 2 picks. And this is going to be where you're going to be able to have an awesome running back and then maybe 3-4 wide receiver draft picks, and that is going to be how you're going to build your team, because all of a sudden one of those 3 are going to be amazing. Like you're going to, even if you look at last year, your Claypools and Mims and stuff like that, they still have value. Like Mims still has value and stuff, but you're going to have some that maybe don't hit as much, and then you're going to have some that do hit. And those are going to be the wide receivers that you're going to have all of a sudden. Now you're going to have a, like, let's say pick 3, you're going to have like a J.K. Dobbins and maybe like a Claypool and like a Mims. Let's just say that's how you drafted your 103, a late first and an early second. Now look at that roster. Now that roster's confined, or now that roster's great. Instead of having a CeeDee Lamb, a Mims, and a Claypool, you're kind of locked into wide receiver, and it's getting harder to draft or trade for a running back because honestly, everyone has decent wide receivers. Decent meaning like you can fill in that gap with like a Landry or even like a heck. And I wouldn't say to do this, but like Nelson Aguilar or somebody that literally did well during the year. Like you can pick those players up. Who knows? Maybe even old man T.Y. Hilton is good for another year. Like these are players that you can definitely pick up. Wide receivers so much easier. So running backs are such a higher demand, and that's why you have to draft running backs. You have to. And whenever I see somebody go, oh, I have 103, but I want to draft Chase, I'm just like, yeah, you can't do, like, you can do it. It's your choice. But like the chances are like he could still be Corey Davis and you could be giving up on a 3-down running back. And all of a sudden now you look back and go, well, crap. Or you draft like 5 wide receivers, or you're stuck going into late first and early second. And you're like, should I draft Michael Carter? Should I draft Trey Sermon? Because I need myself a running back. And it's like, those picks are very likely to bust out and not be much. And all of a sudden now you're stuck with like me, like a DJ Dallas, and it's like, well, what do I do with him? Like he's not going to do much. He's just sitting there. He was a 2nd-round pick last year, and now he's nothing. Or like even like a Zach Moss or a Keyshawn Vaughn. We're looking at those picks, and they're not much. Like you're looking at it and you're like, well, crap, if I drafted the wide receiver first, I'm now limited on what I can do in the future, or it looks like it a lot for a lot of people. So that's value-based drafting. You kind of have to do it every year. You look, maybe take the best player available is a decent strategy, but you also have to look at value-based drafting, which I think that's where, because best player available says take Jamar Chase, take DeVonta Smith. Analytics and value-based drafting says take the running back. And so that's the reason why we don't draft QBs in redraft league super early. It's because it's value-based. What can you get difference? Is Pat Mahomes a better fantasy producer than a lot of the running backs and wide receivers in the first 2 rounds in the redraft? Yes. But why do we not draft him up there? Because the value difference between him and like a Tannehill 8 rounds later in redraft, or even in like startups with 1 QBs is, it's a big difference. It's not a big difference compared to running backs and wide receivers. So that's why we draft the running backs. So I hope you learned a little bit. I hope I wasn't too quiet for you guys. I hope my wife doesn't call me in the next 3 minutes. But it's upside down. Sorry, Judy. 1K. That's all we gotta get to. Hey, maybe it'll happen in like a month. All right. Take care. Peace out.